Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Stop.Sit.Surrogate with Kennedy and Ellen.
Hello, everyone.
We're going to talk about me today.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! Just a recap on my second journey.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Okay,
Um, so let me ask a question.
sure.
How did you meet this couple?
Well, I left my first agency because I did not like them. And I went to a different agency, a very highly rated
Hmm.
agency. And
Whom you found on the internet or whom
going out
you
on the internet. Just
okay.
but this time when I looked at reviews,
Got
and I looked at the worst reviews first,
mm,
and there weren't a lot,
okay.
which makes sense because I'm not allowed
Got it.
to say who they are and give a bad review because
Okay,
the NDA.
got it.
Yeah, but at the time they were great, um, and it was a very different kind of agency than what my first one was. This one had support groups,
Hmm.
and they were like, you have to show up once a month. Um,
Good thing.
and they weren't that far from the house.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And so it was a very much more supportive, so
Hmm.
it seemed,
Yeah.
agency, um, where you could possibly make allies um during it. So it was nice. But I remember we had a cruise coming up in like a year or something,
Right.
like a year and a half. And they had found me a same-sex male couple, and I was like, okay, great. So like this and that. And they're like, but you have a cruise coming up in a year and a half. I was like, and they're like, well, if you're agreeing to do 3 transfers, like it might not take on the first one. They were like so negative about like it not taking on the first try. I was like, okay, well, thanks, and I'm gonna prove you wrong. So,
Right.
and it was just so annoying. They're like, well, you're gonna have to cancel that trip. No, I'm not. I think so. Like it was just so irritating to just constantly be like hammered down. And it's like,
Well, we
just
had we had planned that trip, right?
we had
All
planned that trip for years
for
around the
you
fact that I was gonna be pregnant.
and around the fact that another family member had a new baby and we were waiting till that child was a certain age. So
Right,
we had
exactly.
planned
And
this
that's
years in advance. Yeah.
yeah. And so yeah, this was like, yeah. So it was just kind of irritating to hear that for like I don't know, probably 4 months.
But pause. I do understand why they said it because you sign up for a certain amount of tries and it's not
No,
guaranteed, right?
yeah, I
Okay.
know, I get
I
that,
get it.
but
Okay.
just because it's not a guarantee doesn't mean like, hey, let's make her very, very, very well known that like it's not going to take on the first try because it never does. And it's like, oh my God, like chill.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it was aggressive. And the person, they had two people like running the support groups.
Okay.
So it was like this psychiatrist who like you have to get cleared through,
Yeah.
but she's not affiliated with the agency. She's like an outside. Yet I was looking back at it, I'm like, you clearly are affiliated with the agency because you're here doing all these things for this agency.
Right.
And then they had the surrogate coordinator there
Okay.
most of the time. Um, and so it was an interesting place to share. I never felt like I wanted to completely share because it was just like, well, I don't have to like give you my heart and soul. Like, I don't know. It just
Something was
seemed
off.
interesting. I
Something was
just,
off,
yeah, it
right?
just didn't seem like maybe everything that was said there was going to stay there. Like, it was going to go back to the agency and like they were going to talk about it and figure out, and like,
Hmm.
I don't know. It just seemed interesting. But anyway, so I met this couple. They were from Australia, and so we FaceTimed for the first time, and then but then we decided to match, and they were like, the agency was like, okay, they have to come out and meet you first. It's a requirement. We make them come out and meet you before you start meds and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, that's kind of crazy. Okay. So they came out about a month later in November. Um, and me and my son hung out with them for like the whole day. And then they came back to the house and they met everybody. Um, remember?
I
Yeah.
didn't remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my sister and her new husband at the time had just gotten back from a trip to Australia.
Yes.
So they had just talked. Um, and they brought me these things called, I think they're called Tim Tams or something like
Yeah, yeah,
that.
yeah, sometimes I think,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh my God.
put a box top.
Fantastic. They were so delicious. And yeah, so it was nice to meet them and like be person to person because my first couple, I didn't meet them till I was 6 months pregnant.
So crazy, right?
So like it's just like it was like I do like that aspect of like let's meet in person
Hmm.
before
Hmm.
like we go fully forward. So that all happened. And the next month I had my transfer scheduled. And it so ironic because it was scheduled for the same day that I had my first surrogate baby was born.
Oh, how weird.
I know. So she was born in 2017 on like December 15th, and I had my transfer December 15th of 2018.
Yes, right.
Yeah, it's like a whole year later. It was just so ironic. Um, so that was
So hold on a second.
yeah.
That transfer then was oh sorry. She was like a year.
She was 1 year old on that
Okay,
day.
sorry, my head was
Yeah.
like 3 months. I'm like, wait, yeah.
Mm-mm.
Sorry,
No,
sorry,
she
sorry.
was 1 year old.
Got you. Hmm.
Yeah. And they had told me when they were out here that they weren't going to come back until it was time for birth because, you know, of their professions and they just couldn't get away. And so I understood that. And that was fine. And we talked weekly. We FaceTimed every Saturday,
Oh,
maybe twice a week. I would send them pictures constantly. So we had a really good relationship. And it, you know, it didn't grow as much as my first one, but it grew enough to have a bond where
yeah.
I still, you know, I still get to hear from them time to time. Um, yeah, and so how the pregnancy went was I got pregnant on the first try. Um,
Did they know what sex they were putting in?
they did. They had one boy and like I think five girls. And so they were doing a girl because they were just like, well, this is fine. Like we have more chances with a girl than we do a boy. So like let's just do a girl. And so we knew that going in. And like I said, it took and the pregnancy went smooth. It's like there's nothing crazy about it. It was a happy, easy, healthy pregnancy. Everything was sunshine and rainbows. It was great. And it was so simple.
Were you, I don't remember, were you working during that pregnancy? I can't
I was
remember.
working at the beginning and then I worked at a daycare.
Mhm.
I was like a preschool teacher and I just had to do a lot of lifting and I kept getting these pains,
Mhm.
like my ligament like was pulling or whatever. And I talked to my OB and he was like, well, can you just sit? So I went to my work and he had written a modified work
Right.
thing.
Right.
And my work was like, well, we can't accommodate that. So you're gonna have to like not work. And I was like, okay. um, so I stopped working probably when I was about 5 months,
Okay.
maybe 6 months. Because I
Hmm.
stopped working in June and she was born in September.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And so everything was fine. And then they came out, gosh, let's see, they came out. She was due on Labor Day. They came out literally the day before Labor Day. I remember that, yeah, because I was like, oh my God, okay. So they came out the day before Labor Day and they were really eager for her to be born,
Aw.
like too much
Oh.
eager that I was like, okay,
Oh.
I'm the one pregnant here and I just need to like, I was just like already hormones were like raging and I was just like, I get it, I'm done being pregnant, but like can't make her come any sooner. So
Right.
they actually went to my doctor's appointment with me.
Mm.
And that was so interesting because I never had an IP go to a doctor's appointment with me.
Right.
And one of them is a doctor.
Yes.
And he spoke to my doctor
Mm.
and was like, so how can we induce her? Like, how can we get this going without? And I was just like, ooh, okay. And my doctor's like, well, I don't do that unless it's like necessary. So we're not going to do that right now. Uh, we would have to wait a couple days.
Because
And
literally you were at your due date, like, or real close to it, right? It wasn't like you
well,
were
because
2 weeks late.
She was due
Yeah.
on Labor Day. And
Okay.
so I went in the next
Yeah.
day.
Right.
And no, I'm sorry. I was due on Labor Day, which was a Monday, and we went in on Friday. So they actually came they must have come the Thursday before she was due,
Okay, gotcha.
because then I went all weekend and we hung out and stuff like
Mhm.
that. And so she wasn't coming. And then he like scraped my membranes or whatever,
Okay.
which worked for my son,
Hmm.
but didn't work for my first
Right.
surrogate baby.
Right.
And it started things.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay. So I was admitted to the hospital and I had called them and I was like, hey guys, like I'm in the hospital. I guess baby's coming today. Like, yay, it's exciting. Like, let's, come on over. And they hit traffic because where they were, do you not remember that? They hit traffic because they were coming at rush hour from Long Beach,
They were.
which
Yeah.
to Orange County,
Good
that's
hour.
rush hour traffic on a freaking Wednesday.
Mm.
Um, so they missed her birth.
That's right.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, that's right.
yeah.
Why
They
did
hit
that slip my
traffic.
mind? Yeah, she was
Mhm.
already in the incubator. Like
Yeah,
they
but I
were
didn't
warning
hold her.
you.
I didn't want to like take that moment away or anything like
Right.
that. But she was only in there for probably because they were just checking her vitals. So she was born. Oh, well, okay. When it came time to pushing, I was pushing for, I don't know, 4 minutes. My doctor gets in there and he's like, why is this baby not out yet? This is your third baby. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know. And he's like, oh, I know why. And she was turned. So her shoulder kept hitting my pelvic bone and she wouldn't come out. And he's like, she should have just shot right out by now. And I was like, oh, okay, that's nice.
It's a
So
good
he
visual. It's a
put
good
his
visual.
hand all the way up to his elbow in and turned her. I still remember the feeling. He completely turned her and then he was like, okay, give it a push. And she was out. And I was like, oh, okay, that's great. Thanks so much.
Thank goodness for intervention because you could have been there for days. Pushing, pushing,
No,
pushing, pushing,
I know, but like, thank God he like realized it. Like, I love him.
pushing.
But then they took her out, and I don't want any baby to be put on me. I always say that because I didn't get that experience with my son, so I just don't want that experience with somebody else's baby. And so they they just held her because they were doing the cord blood.
Mhm.
So they held her, they did that whole thing, and then they took her over to the incubator and they did her app guard or whatever that's called. And so basically she was there, they warmed her up, they got her looking,
Mhm.
decent,
Yeah.
and then they were there. They had got there and I could hear them out in the hall with the nurse. And the nurse is like, oh, she's already here. And they're like, yeah, 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 we know she's in there. And they're like, no, the baby's already here.
Oh,
And they were like, oh my God. And so they go in and they come over to me and they're like, how are you? And I was like, oh my, I'm fine. Go see your baby. Like, it's
that was
okay.
sweet. That was
And they
sweet.
were really sweet about it. And they went over and they held her and they were like, oh my God, thank you so much. And I was like, I'm so sorry that like you guys hit rush hour traffic. Like, ah. And they're like, it's okay, it's okay. Everybody's healthy, everybody's happy.
Yeah.
It worked out the way it needed to work out. Like she's here. And yeah, and so they stayed in the room with me for I think about an hour. They did like their little skin to skin in there with me. They offered to give them another room, but they were like, well, if you're cool. And I was like, yeah, I'm fine.
Oh, that was sweet.
Yeah, we had a good relationship. And then we got wheeled to different rooms. So they
Mhm.
were down the hall, whereas my first couple, they were literally sharing a wall with me.
I know.
I don't know. And so this couple was down the hall, which was totally fine. And we would text and be like, how you doing? Like, we would go back and forth to each other's room a little bit. And then I got my hour with her and you were there and I think dad was there and Ash, my son, came and and they at that time they were like, oh hey, uh we're just gonna go put the car seat in. And I was like, oh
Mhm.
perfect. That's perfect.
Right.
Like there you go. That works out great. They
Yeah.
had no problem
Right.
leaving her with me for an hour. They were like, we have nothing. Although I will go back to this. When I had mentioned this to my agency in the beginning, I didn't even mention it to the agency. I mentioned it to the psychiatrist person.
What
I
did
don't know
you
why
do?
they,
The
huh?
hour? The hour?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
When I had mentioned having an hour, that I wanted to put that in my contract, the
Mhm.
amount of backlash that I got
Yep.
was ridiculous.
Agreed.
And the psychiatrist is like, well, I recommend that to all my IPs, that's important. I was like, that's great that you recommend it. I wanted it writing. Like, I don't care because I know that people will try that because my mom experienced it. So like I don't want to miss that out. It's not even really for me. Like,
Mm.
it's not, I just want my son to be able to be like, oh, he was so young. He was like 3 years old. So I wanted him to be like, oh, this is what was in mommy's tummy. And now the baby's gonna go away. Baby looks nothing like me. But baby's not mine. But like baby goes to the dad's. Like it was so important to me to be able to be like, hey, rather than just show back up at home not pregnant. Like
And not being able to be fully functional yourself because you have to heal for a little bit. So it's like, well, wait,
yeah.
baby's out. How come you can't run around with me and play? And it,
Yeah. And so it just made sense. And so, oh my God, we literally fought about it for probably 2 weeks. And I wasn't even fighting with the agency. I was fighting with the stinking psychiatrist. And I was like, why can't this just go in? And then come to find out when I was talking, because I developed a decent relationship with these IPs. When I was
Mhm.
talking to them, they're like, that was never brought up to us. The moment it was, we were like, absolutely, we don't care. And I was like, you're kidding. So I was fighting because of their opinion and not yours, because what
Right.
I was told was, well, that makes them feel uncomfortable. So no, so you lied to me and was like, oh no, we're gonna put this on the IPs. Like it just makes me laugh that agencies like, don't think that we're gonna talk.
Right.
Like,
Right.
no.
Yeah. And
So
and why not make it full circle? Why not encourage that and make it full circle so that the surrogate gets what she needs to get out of it? And like you
yeah,
said, not really for her, more for family or children,
yeah,
like for them to get the closure, for them to see maybe the dads or the parents, the IPs with the baby, like, oh, that's what we did. Okay, that's what my mom did. That's why she couldn't play with me that last month. She was carrying this baby because it's just a belly. Some little kids understand it, but depending on your age, you don't really get that there's a human in there, you know?
right.
Right. So that's weird that they, not weird, but just sad that your IPs would, yeah, when it was brought up, it was no problem at all. Like,
Yeah, they did not care at all. And same with my first IPs. He did not care at all. He was like, absolutely. Like you carried her. Please take an hour. He even offered me 2 hours. I was like, I don't need 2 hours. I'm good. Thanks. I just want like an hour.
yeah.
But it's just important to me, it's personally important
Mhm.
that my family gets the little like, hello, goodbye. It
Mhm.
was great to meet you. Have a nice little life. Like, because sometimes you're never gonna see them again. Like two of my surrogate babies live out of the country. They live on the other side of the world. So to see them again is going to be very sporadically or rare.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it's just I'll never understand why I will understand because it's
Well,
taboo to ask for the hour. I'm sorry, it's not taboo to ask for the damn hour.
it's
But
something an
yeah.
agency should advocate for their surrogates. I totally
Yeah.
100% believe that that's something they should advocate for. It's not taking any babies anywhere. Just want to get
Right.
close.
And so when the psychiatrist talked to me, she's like, why do you need that hour? And a part of me just wanted to be sarcastic and be like, oh, because clearly I'm attached to the baby and want to
Yeah.
keep the baby. Like,
Yeah.
are you stupid? Like, no, I have already done this. I know what this
Mhm.
entails. I do not want to keep the dang baby. If I wanted to keep the baby, I'd have my own baby. I'm not
Right.
going to put somebody else through all this. I'm not going to put my body through all of these meds, needles, all of these hormones and extra hormones and things
Yeah.
to have a baby. If I
Right.
don't have to, if I can get pregnant on my own to keep a baby, yeah.
Mhm.
But like, it just blew my mind. And then to hear that they gave me so much hell,
But hadn't even brought it up to the IPs. They could have
but they
literally
never brought it up. And that's where I was like, when I found that out, I was like, are
so
you
much
kidding me?
stress for you.
It was 2 weeks of just
I
like,
know.
give me the damn hour. I'm not
Right.
asking for anything else to be
Mhm.
changed in this contract.
Right.
Nothing else. I mean, they wanted small little things. They wanted me to wear a mask when I got my nails done. And I was like, seriously?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
We were still like pandemic.
No, we were not
We
pandemic at
were not.
all. This was
That's
20 this
right.
this was 2018 to 2019.
It's probably because of the chemicals and stuff.
Yeah, it was the chemicals. And then I asked my lawyer, I was like, well, what if the doors open? Because a lot of the times the doors are open. And he's like, well, yeah, like it's fine. Like blah blah blah. Like, but like the things that they were asking, it wasn't crazy.
Right.
And so to go back and be like, oh, the only thing I want to change is I
Yeah.
want to add an hour.
And it was an hour in the hospital after birth. It wasn't
Yeah.
like bring her to my home.
No, but
No.
when so after we all left the hospital, they stayed, I think they stayed about a week. They were really quick on getting their passport for her and everything that they needed.
Right.
they were really quick, whereas my last couple, it took them longer.
Yeah.
But this couple, I think, this couple stayed definitely less than 2 weeks. And they actually stayed close by. They stayed in Long Beach
Mhm.
at a friend's. And they invited me and you. And well, they invited the whole family, but only me, you, and my son went.
Mhm.
And we got to hang out with them, and we got to see the baby. We got to hold the baby, and we had like I think we had like a small little, maybe like appetizers or whatever. But it was simple, and it
It was
was really
actually
sweet.
a VRBO. They actually rented
Oh,
that.
is that what that was?
Uh-huh. And
Oh, and his
yes,
brother.
happened to be in town.
Yes.
Yep.
So one of them, their brother from New Zealand.
Yeah,
He's
I
from New
believe it.
Zealand. He just happened to be in town because he travels for business, and it just so happened to line up. And so he came, and we got to meet him, and he got to meet the baby and all this kind of stuff. So that was really cool.
And
That
he
was
has kids. So for
Mhm.
him to help his brother, like, okay, this is when you
Yeah.
really change a diaper. This is so it was great for them, I think, and
Yeah.
super cool that they had actual family. That was really
Yeah.
cool.
Around when
Yeah.
yeah, because they're overseas.
Yeah, it's a lot to go
Yeah.
through. Yeah,
It
very.
is, but they were such a wonderful, lovely couple, and they call me on her birthday, and they're like, "Thank you so much," and
Great.
and she'll talk to me, and last time, so we talked on her last birthday, this last September,
Yeah.
and she was reading, and I was like, "Oh my God, you are reading?" Like she was reading. She's only like what? She was born in 2019, so she was only 3,
Jeez.
and she was reading. I mean, I think it was a lot of like memory because it was the same book.
Oh, cute. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
she's so cute. And
Do you know if they've gone on to have another child or?
no, I don't know if they were going to.
Okay.
They were pretty okay with one. um However, so since she was born in 2019, she was born in September 4th, 2019.
Yes.
um she her and so one of the dads is from Australia, one of them is from Colombia.
Hmm.
And the dad from Colombia, when she was about almost 6 months old, he decided to take her to Colombia. So February of 2020, he took her to Colombia to see his family and, meet everybody there. And then the world shut down.
Mhm.
And so the dad and the baby were stuck in Colombia while the other dad was stuck in Australia for, I want to say, about 5 months.
I
They
thought
were
it was 8.
separated.
I thought you
No,
said
it
it was
wasn't 8, because she was back home before her
first
before
birthday.
her next birthday. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Still 5 months. That's a lot of time.
Yeah.
Great.
Really sad.
Great for the Columbia family, but
Yeah, just
for the
really, I
dad.
mean,
Oh,
yeah. So they FaceTimed a lot and stuff like that. And then as soon as flights opened up for Australia,
yeah.
he flew to Colombia and saw them. And then they came home.
Got okay. So he went there first. Okay.
Yeah, because Colombia was way strict. Colombia was like, "Oh, COVID, bye. Like we're shutting down everything. Like we're not dealing with this."
Right.
But it was so sad when they told me that. I was like, "Oh my God, you were separated for 5 months? How awful. Like you have like this newborn little baby."
Mm-hmm. Aw.
Yeah.
So, um, well, I was going to ask on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate that surrogacy journey? I was just going to ask, one being the worst, 10 being the best.
Like
All
an
things
8.
considered. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to kind of say. I thought it was maybe
Yeah,
low.
I'd say like an 8. I
Mhm.
think it was a great journey. I
I think
mean,
so. They were super sweet.
they
Hmm.
were super nice, super, super sweet. They
Yeah.
were great. They were great, great people. They still are great people.
Yeah. No, it's nice to get that. And then, um, so your first one you had one agency, and then the second one you flipped agencies, right? This,
Yeah. And so I flipped agencies because I did not appreciate my first agency and the shadiness that went on.
okay.
And this agency, I liked them
Mhm.
as of now. I liked them, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, this is good. This is good. I like the support here.
Yeah.
I like,
Is,
I yeah.
is that the journey that I went to a support meeting with you?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yes,
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
recall. I recall that, which I thought
Yeah.
was great. They had such a large turnout.
Yeah. They
I
no,
did.
they do. They do have a lot of people going to these. Well, when during that time they did. I don't know anymore. I don't know if it's turned virtual or
Mhm.
whatnot.
Yeah.
But
Interesting.
but yeah, but my opinion changes on this agency drastically in my next journey.
Right,
because
because
it's
it's the same one. Okay. I'm
the
just
same
trying to keep
one.
it all straight. Yeah. Even though I
Yeah.
lived with you the whole time, I'm like, sometimes I can't
No, it's
remember.
just a lot. Well, I did them back to back to back. But no, this
How
at
many
first
did you do? Three in how many years? Do you remember? Can you figure it out?
well, okay, I had a transfer in 2017, baby was born in 2017. I had a transfer in 2018, baby was born in 2019. I had a transfer in 2020, baby was born in 2021.
So four or five, five,
Well, I mean,
seven.
I had Ashton. I was pregnant with Ashton in 2015 and had him in 2016. So I've been pregnant since 2016.
I
No,
just want
2015.
the surrogacies were 3 and 4 years or 3 and 5 years.
My surrogacies were 2017 to 2021. So three
Oh, five.
and 4 years.
17 to 21. 18, 19.
That's four.
Oh, it's four. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I did
Hmm.
3 and 5.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. And you've
Yeah.
had a long rest now, right? Yeah.
Yeah. 2022 is the only year since 2015 that I have not been pregnant.
Isn't that crazy? That's crazy. Okay, so I mean, you've already shared like information and advice you want to give to surrogates and stuff. Like, what would be the one top piece of advice based on that journey?
Based on that journey,
Yeah.
is the fact that like if you want something in your contract that means something to you, don't back down. Like don't I don't care how scary the agency seems because guess what? They're not scary because without us as surrogates, they have no business.
Mhm.
So as long as it's not something outrageous and crazy that you're asking for, which honestly I've never met a surrogate who's asked for something or who has wanted to ask for something that is crazy and absurd. Like it's just not that's not what we do. We're doing it because the reason we want to ask for things is either for our mental health, for our wellness,
Mhm.
or for our family. Like that's it. And that's what it should be. We're not, we're not asking for like $1 million. Like that's not what we do. And we're not asking for the baby to come back and stay with us for, a night. Or it's just we're not asking for absurd things.
No.
So, and a lot of the time, what I have discovered from this, sorry, from this aid, well, from this journey,
Hmm.
is that sometimes the things that you ask for to be in a contract won't even like hit the IPs until the agency is like, oh, well, I guess if you're really going to push us on it, like, then we'll suggest it. Because it's like, it should have gone immediately. My request should have gone immediately to the IPs.
So
Immediately.
did the when you were requesting this, you were requesting this before contracts started, or did
Nope. Oh,
lawyers should have lawyers should have communicated? That part I don't get. Why did the agency have the
no, I requested it through my lawyer.
Mhm.
I said, this is the only thing that I would like. But I had also mentioned it before I even was matched.
Yeah. Okay.
And I said, this is the only thing I'm going to ask for.
Right.
This is the only thing.
Right.
And they didn't care at the time because they were like, whatever, she'll give it up. No. And when I asked for it in the contracts, it somehow got back to my agency. And I think the agency might look over contracts there
Mm,
before presenting them to the other people.
interesting.
Also, there's conflict of interest with the lawyer that I had,
Yeah.
but that's fine. Um, so yeah, because I asked for it in a revision
Yeah. Okay.
and they were like, no, 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 no. Like, we're gonna, I don't know. And it was so interesting because it wasn't the agency that was coming back at me. They had the psychiatrist call me and be like, so are you crazy? No, I'm not crazy. Like, I just know how crap can go down. And then, I mean, if you guys want to fast forward, like the agency, if y'all want to fast forward to the next journey that you guys set me up on, I know how crap's going to go down. So that's why I put stuff in my contracts. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah,
And even, yeah, we won't jump there, but even though things
no,
are put in the contracts, they can be misinterpreted by both sides. Enough said.
absolutely.
Yeah, enough said. Yeah, we got it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
So
All
yeah,
right. So was it seemed like a uneventful, which is a good thing when you talk about surrogacy.
yeah.
Smooth sailing. You had a
Mhm.
vaginal delivery, right?
Yes.
Right.
I did. I also, we've never talked about this before, but I, up to this point in my journeys, I was with HRC Fertility.
Okay.
Well, I'm just saying because each fertility clinic does something different.
Oh, and you were with the same one?
And I was with the same fertility clinic. So I was with HRC Fertility
Okay.
for those, and they seemed to work out good. And they were I had really decent doctors. And the first one was whatever, but the second one was really nice. I liked him a lot.
Okay.
But yeah,
That's
who
good.
did you have? Where did you go?
I think his name has changed now, but Beverly Hills, it was
Oh, you went to Beverly Hills.
Dr. Sahikian. Yeah. He's
Oh, that's
still in the
right.
business. And apparently has, I want to say he has his
He's
own.
associated with a particular
There you
agency.
go. There
Yes.
you go. Okay. Right. Yeah. I love that man. Yeah. And in fact, we already talked about that too. I had my third couple go to
Oh
him
yeah.
because we did a transfer and
So you
it
had,
worked, but it was twins and that we lost it. And then I'm like, okay, if we're gonna do this again, we're gonna go to him.
but you had him for all three.
We did. I had to go to one other doctor for one transfer with that third couple, and he was down in San Diego.
Ah,
And I
okay.
just did not feel welcome there. Did not at all. Yeah, it was sad. I just felt like, oh gosh, what is this? Yeah. But and then we talked and we said, if we're gonna go forward, I want you to go to this agency. And they did. They went.
Well, good.
And we got pregnant and it stuck and everything. Well, you know what happened in that state in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But still it worked. He did his, it worked.
Yes. Well,
Right.
that's good.
That's an example of a surrogate speaking up to and asking way back when for, hey, look,
Yeah.
I feel way more comfortable over there. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And speaking of way back when,
Mm,
something that just like clicked in my head is like you've said, because I was just saying how I got pushback for asking for the hour,
mhm.
and now it's such a taboo subject. But you said that it was in all your contracts.
It was.
So that's what's wild to me is that like they're gonna reverse it now. They're gonna be like, oh no, 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 we're not gonna put that in the contracts anymore. So like that's what's very interesting as well.
It was really weird. And it really didn't come into play with the triplet journey because I was in that ICU of quite a bit.
Well, yes, but at least it was there in case you needed it.
Yes. Yes. It was right. It was in there. And I would have never thought being a first time surrogate, oh, well, that's interesting. Why do I need that?
Mhm.
And but once I had the first one, I'm like, oh heck yes, this is very important. So I was with that same agency for the first two. So they already had it in. But when I went to the
Mm.
third one, I believe I put it in.
Oh, you put it in.
I believe I put it in on the third one and I asked for it. And they were like, oh, okay, well, we'll see how that flies. And apparently the couple didn't really seem to care at that point, I think.
Sure.
But it's how that journey went was,
Yeah.
yeah, made it a little difficult. But
We'll talk about that next
we
time.
will.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions or if you guys would like to share your story, please feel free to reach out to me at Stop.Sit.Surrogate on Instagram.
Okay. It's been another edition of Stop Sit Surrogate with Kennedy and Ellen. Talk to you guys later.
Bye.